Hello everyone, this is Rick Harding here with lococast.net. I'm here to introduce the first of our screencast series. After Pi Ohio was such a success and everyone seemed to really get a lot out of the Vim open space I operated there, it kind of came to me that, you know what, people really want to know more about Vim, and not just the beginners. We're not looking to help everyone learn how to use the HJKL for movement keys, to tell you the difference between command mode and insert mode, but really to kind of help you with some of the things that you may have skipped off in your Vim lessons through life so far, or maybe even to just shine the spotlight on a certain feature that maybe you're not using as much, and hopefully down the road we'll be able to get some good feedback from other people and we can fill out some of the knowledge, because let's face it, Vim's one of those things that's just too big for everyone to know all. So down the road we hope to do this with some other things. I really plan on helping out with some ZSH stuff, maybe some tiling window manager, how that kind of fits with things. But to start out, we figured Vim's global, everyone knows it, and most people probably use it at least for some small limited use. And then there's me, who uses it for everything under the sun. So to start out with, what I wanted to do was to introduce the concept of splits in Vim. And so here I've got my Vim window, and just so to help you out down here, I've got a little program called Keymon, which will go through and show the keystrokes I hit. So here's Control K, here's Control L, or maybe Control W. You can follow that along, and hopefully that'll help you follow this as we go through and do some operations of things. So let's start off. What is a split? Well, a split is just a way to take your window and to split it in multiple parts, right? So we're going to start off with just splitting into two. You can split both horizontally and vertically. So let's say I wanted to split it in a line across here, or maybe up and down here. You can do that. And then what's great is that splits can be navigated with keyboard shortcuts like most everything else in Vim. And so you can use this from a terminal window if you're SSH'd across another machine and you want to split open config files to compare them or something. Or maybe you're working on some code and you want to split windows to compare your template file to your model file or something. This will let you do all that. All right, so what are they good for? Well, like we just said, they're good for comparing files for multiple windows at once. What's great, and this is going to be kind of hard to demonstrate on this screen because I've kind of got it shrunk down so that you guys can see it well on like a YouTube video. But I know at home I work on a 22-inch high-res LCD display, and I can actually split multiple times. So not only can I split the window in half, but I can actually split it three ways. And if you do any kind of MVC kind of development, it's great because I can have my model, my view, and my controller showing up all at once. But this is a video about splits, so let's get to splitting. And the split keystroke that we're worried about is mainly everything's based off of Control W. So you start out life with Control W, and that didn't show up. There we go, Control W. And then you can do things like, so we're going to do V. Oops, sorry, I didn't do it fast enough. So Control W, V will split vertically. So now I have this vertical split with two different instances. This is the same buffer, basically. So if I add something in here, it goes in the other one. I can then take this and split it with Control W, S, and now I have a separate window here. And what you'll see is that by hitting Control W and then H, J, K, and L, I can move through these. So there's over to H, and this is going to be over L, and then Control W and then J to go down a window. Again, all of these are in sync. Where this gets to be handy, though, is when you can open up things in a new window, a new file. So let's open up something new here, and so now I can compare. I could say, things not in other files, and start my list of something here, and I can compare my notes. Closing a split here is just as easy as anything else. You can Control W to close this. There's actually a C close window. What I actually do is I have a shortcut in my VimRC for just F2 closes the most recently open split. So we've talked about how to create them. We can create multiple. We can go, hog wild and keep splitting, and it will start, by default it spaces thing out evenly. One thing you can also do is to resize the splits. So let's say that I wish to make this upper one larger than the bottom one. You can use the Control W and plus and minus keys. So there's minus, minus. But what I wanted was the upper one larger. So let's Control oops, sorry. You have to be in the window that you want to make. So I'll make this one larger. So you see it. The keystroke you see below is actually Shift equals, which is your space key. In GVim, just for the mouse guys, the lovers of you can actually click on the bar between and drag these around. To move the sizes left and right, you can do Control W, and then you use the less than and greater than symbols, which you see here again. It's Shift comma and Shift period. Now what you can also do is to cheat and create simplified shortcuts. One thing that I do is I have a mapping. Instead of hitting Control W, H, if I just hit Control H, it goes to the next one. If I hit Control L, it goes left and right. So it's kind of nice because instead of two keystrokes, it's just one in order to move around between your open splits here. All right, so next up, you've got them, but what if you have them in a wrong place? What if you wish to move things around? Let's go back to just our simplified 2. Let's say I really want this one over on the right side. You can move it a couple of ways. You basically use, just like anything else, H, J, K, and L, so you can go Control W. And then what it is, it's the capital letter, so Shift L. Boom, notice it moved it over to the right. And again, if I move it over to the left, I'll do Shift H. So the capital letters will move the window itself, whereas the lowercase ones will move just your cursor where your focus is between them. And then finally, there's one that's called, you can use a Control W followed by an R and an X. And what these will do is we'll just rotate around in a circle, basically. Let's see if I can, I'm not sure if this one's going to work or not. See how this, well, it's kind of hard to tell because I don't have 4 different files. But basically, you can do that as a rotating basis. So when I do Control W and then do Shift L, what it does is it moves it to the furthest to the right. If I had 3 splits open, here's this one. See, Control W, Shift L moves it all the way over to the right, which may not be what you want. You may want to move it just one window at a time. So let's move it back over to the left, and let's do R. Notice how with Control W, R, it moved it just one space over instead of all the way. So now that you've resized your splits, you've moved your splits around, let's see. Let's go over some sample uses. Why don't we see where this is good for? One thing that you'll notice is that a lot of things actually already work with splits. So for instance, if we were to do help in Vim, and let's look up help for splits, it will actually open it in a new window, split here. And so you can see here's your, your information about splits, and below are the files that I had open. And so if I hit that F2, it closes that up. So there you go. Help Windows already working with splits. Other things you may notice. Let's grab a new file here, and let's say we want to have a Python file, right? So let's do first. Let's set the file type because this isn't saved yet. Equals Python. And then from here we can do some fun stuff. Let's cheat and use our snippets library, which I'll go over probably another screencast. All right, we've got some Python, we've got import CSV, and now I've got some shortcuts here for pulling up Python documentation. So here is the Python help for the CSV module. Notice it opened it up in a split so that I can view it. I can then hit F2 to close that split and continue on. So I found out that there was a CSV reader, I believe. Oops, sorry. And that'll get us from there. So notice how that the help documentation for that opened up in a split that we can use and operate with. And then basically anything else if we do anything with quick fix. So for instance, one of the things that I have is a oh, it won't. Here we go. Could not compile because I don't have this saved as a file yet. So let's go ahead and save this as a file. Save it to temp. Vim localcast.by. Alright, and that was basically saying, hey, I saw they had a shebang, so I changed the permissions on this to be executable. And now we should be able to do and run it through pep8. So here it says pep8 is complaining in a quick fix window, which again is a split. And we can close this with our normal close operations. So finally, let's do some multi-file stuff. We'll get an idea with this with the resolution best we can. Let's open up temp. I basically created a pylons application here, and in my pylons application, I've got several different directories of information. So I'm going to pull up my controllers here, and so let's go ahead and pull up our error controller. And now let's split our window horizontally, and let's go back and pull up our model, and let's go ahead and close our file viewer here. So here we can see I've got two files. One is my controller and one is a model, and I could actually go through and see and work on both of them at the same time. Again, the small screen makes us a little bit not as fun as we would normally like, but hey, splits are awesome. Let me tell you a little story here. When I first started playing with Vim, I was like, you know what? I can't use Vim. They don't have tabs. And everyone that used Vim was like, you don't need tabs. And I'm like, come on. Eclipse, Komodo, Zen Studio, every editor I had used had tabs. Gedit has tabs. What do you mean that you don't need tabs? Then why does every editor under the sun have tabs? And I came to realize after Vim 7, they had tabs. And I'm like, all right, sweet, I can use it now. And I got really into Vim after Vim 7. And then I came to realize that, you know what, they're right. You don't need tabs. The splits is a much, much better situation. And on today's large high-res screens, I tell you what, I wouldn't be without. I've actually run 3 files, basically each of these split 3 ways, and then down here I've actually run 5, 6 files at a time, open, viewable, and everything is mouseable, or keyboard shortcuts instead of using a mouse, so I can keep my hands typing and going along just like I need. So there you go. There's splits for you from Vim. Very powerful tool. Suggest you start checking it out, play with it. I'll have my show notes up with all the different keyboard shortcuts and things here, and let me know what you think. I will talk with you later on.